Stupid fucking big chairs.
Hello, fellow yappers. I'm Ruchi.
And I'm Shalini, and we're your hosts of Binge, Yap, Repeat.
We're two best friends who spend an embarrassing amount of time binge-watching TV, and honestly, we just need to talk about it. If you're here, we're guessing you do too.
Fair warning, this is a spoiler-friendly zone. We will be discussing lots of spoilers. So, if you haven't watched the show yet, hit pause, go binge, and come back when you're ready to yap with us.
And now, it's yap time.
I want us to not have corporate voice. How do we break out of corporate voice this early in the morning?
Good morning. It's another episode of Morning Brew, your favorite corporate podcast.
Now we're back in corporate.
Today we're going to be talking about all of the hottest M&As that are happening.
What is mergers and acquisition.
Actually,
me, the MBA not knowing what M&A is.
yeah. Okay, the only reason that I know this is because a contestant on Devil's Plan is a lawyer for M&A.
Nice.
Speaking of M&A, wait, this is a really side point. Speaking of M&As, did you know that Discover and Capital One merged?
No. I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm a little worried. I really love Discover.
Oh, I remember in college your Discover credit card was like a little cassette tape.
I still have that little cassette tape credit card.
So cute.
Yeah. Capital One could never.
It's not cutie patootie enough.
Yeah, seriously. Okay. Before we kick off today's episode on Sirens, yay, I have some oopsie doopsies already from the last episode. I feel like it's too early. It's like too early to be barking. Oh my God. I don't know how you wake up early. I'm like, it's 9 a.m. for me, and I'm like, it's the earliest I've ever woken up in the morning ever.
Oh no. Yes, listeners, for context, it is 7 a.m. where I am, and it is 9 a.m. for Ruchi, but we have exactly the same sleep schedule, so it's equally early for both of us.
I think I go to bed later than you do.
Oh. Okay.
I think I've been going to bed around like 12 or 1 sometimes.
Oh yeah, that would be a little later. Yeah.
Lol. Yeah, damn it. Okay, all right. So my oopsie doopsie is actually from last time's Funsy Onesie, so it was not even episode related. So what had happened was I gloated about how my Taylor and Tyler theory was correct, and that maybe they hadn't like broken up, but they were on very rocky terms before that the Temptation Islands actually started filming. And I had said that they talked on Vial Files, and that Taylor basically asked Tyler if they wanted to like book flights together on the way back, and he was like, I don't think we should do that. So this time around, that was from like some random article that I read that I thought was summarizing the Vial Files. Actually was not the case. So I actually watched the first 20 minutes of the Vial Files, which is actually when Taylor and Tyler were talking about all this stuff. And they had said that they didn't say anything about the flight back, but they were basically saying how it was super rocky. They were basically about to break up when they got the phone call. And they had both decided together to still go on the show. So I think it was a little bit still like clout chasing, but on both of their sides.
Okay.
And Tyler had said in the Vial Files that he wanted a career in entertainment. Exactly. And there were meaningful looks exchanged between Taylor and Ashley as well during when he said that. And then he was like, "Oh, what's that look about?" And then Taylor's like, "You're clout chasing. Like you've always been a clout chaser, blah blah blah." Yeah.
Okay, I would say you were correct. You were still right that they were not broken up when they signed up or whatever, like auditioned. They were basically broken up when they got called to be on the show. And then
Yeah.
they both mutually agreed to do it for Instagram fame.
The other thing is that they were actually like in the Netflix database. So they were auditioning for another show. And then that show ended up being cut, but then they were in the Netflix database for just, I don't know, hot couples, hot dramatic couples database. And then, like a year later, after they auditioned, Netflix contacted them and was like, "Oh, we're not going to do that show, but do you want to do this show, Temptation Island?" And then they
Oh.
were like, "Well, there were." I think the Netflix was like, "Oh, are you still together? Do you want to do this show?" And then they were like, "Uh, we're not together."
Got a little Taylor Dakota situation.
Exactly. So then that's how they ended up doing it.
Got it.
But yeah,
Okay. All right. Still vindication, I would
still
say.
vindication. Yes. Okay, and then I think we had in the last episode, we promised that we would come back with the updated TikTok specific rankings. So not the Instagram rankings, but TikTok, and see if there is any difference. So Shalene, take it away.
All right. So, first of all, everyone has basically 2 to 5x the number of followers on TikTok than they do on Instagram, which we mentioned last
Yeah.
episode. So, Instagram following, we had Taylor in first place. Taylor is still in first place on TikTok with 5.3 million followers. I think she had 1.2 million on Instagram.
Yeah.
Then, second on Instagram was Jen, but second on TikTok is Michaela with 3 million.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, I
think that's what I
know.
guessed, right? I had guessed Michaela for number
Yes.
2. Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
I
Because
think so.
they show a lot of her skincare journey.
Oh, yeah. Okay, then third is Whitney on TikTok with 2.4 million. I think Whitney was seventh, second to last on Instagram. She's
7,
third.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whitney is not popular with the millennials.
No, only Gen Z. Then we have Macy, who was also fourth in Instagram. Then we have Jen at 2 million followers. So she fell from second on Instagram to fifth on TikTok.
Wow.
Then here's where it gets really crazy. Demi is now ahead of Jessie on TikTok. So Demi has 1.1 million and Jessie has 1 million followers. And then eighth is Layla with 537.3
Classic Layla.
thousand followers. Yeah.
Classic Layla. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Because I do know that I think it was in the show that they're like, oh, Demi is about to hit 1 million, right?
Oh, I don't remember that.
I think it was Demi came over to Jesse's house and then Jesse hugged her and was like, oh my God, you're about to hit 1 million.
Oh.
Or like, congrats on hitting 1 million or something.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I know what scene you're talking about, but I still don't remember that line.
Yeah. I wonder what the rate of growth is, though, because if Demi was about to hit 1 million or hit 1 million in November, December, and she's at 1.1 now, and Jessie is at 1 million, it
You
could
think?
be that there's a higher rate of growth for Jessie.
Yeah, like she's on the up and up and Demi's on the
Down and
down and down.
Yeah, it's possible. Well, okay. Good for Michaela. Good for Michaela.
Yeah. Remember when she was like, what my husband made in a year is what I make from one brand deal?
Yes. Yeah. How much do you think these brand deals are?
No, I was thinking about that. Maybe like 80K, 100K?
Dude, that's so much.
I know.
That's crazy.
No wonder they all want to stay in mom talk, even though it's toxic app.
Oh, did you want to give an update on the actual season? Like, there's a new season coming out?
Yes. Okay, so I just saw that the show Secret Lives of Mormon Wives after season 2 was renewed for 20 new episodes. So, only 10 are out right now. That means either we have 10 more coming this season or they're going to wait and post the other 10 episodes as a season 3, like regardless of how season 2 does. So they haven't announced anything, but I did think it was interesting that at the end of episode 10, they were showing clips of what's to come in the future. I was like, oh, so they already filmed it? But I just didn't think very much about it.
Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, oh, they have Jesse's husband crying. Oh, I guess they know what the fallout is.
Right.
Cool. All right. Please, God, give us a break.
Please, we need time.
You guys, Secret Lives was so stressful. Like the entire process of watching it, recording it, editing it, publishing it was so stressful for us.
Jackie, it was all for you.
And Ariel.
Oh, yes.
Honestly, I think it was just because we were like super busy with the batch.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine if we had all weekend. That would have been nothing.
Yeah, it would have been
4
easy.
days to watch 10 hours of TV.
Dude, I was straight up like watching. I was like, I need to cram this into every free minute that I have in my life. Like I had one of my meetings ended early and I had 7 minutes and I watched Secret Lives in those 7 minutes
Oh my God.
just to get through it. I was watching Secret Lives as I was brushing my teeth that night. Like I need to finish this episode.
That reminds me, last summer, I got into Love Island USA. I think after the season had ended, but before the reunion was airing. But I got so hooked on it and I was so committed to finish the season before the reunion. And that show is like 35 1 hour plus long episodes. And so I was watching on my walks with my dog. I was watching in the shower. I would like put my phone in my shower caddy on the wall and watch it as I showered. I was listening to it when I drove everywhere. Like I was so committed to finishing it. That's when I
Dude.
knew hosting this podcast wouldn't be that difficult from a watching perspective.
True. Okay, yes. Which brings us to Sirens, which came out Thursday, May 22nd. We are recording this Saturday, May 24th.
At the ass crack of dawn.
I guess let's get into it. Let's get into it. We're already 15 minutes in. Oops. Okay. Sirens is a dark comedy limited series created by Molly Smith Metzler based on her 2011 play LMNOP. I love that name. It premiered on Netflix on May 22nd, 2025. The premise of Sirens is Devon is concerned about her sister Simone's unhealthy relationship with her new boss, Michaela. It stars Megan Fahey as Devon DeWitt, Simone's older sister, Millie Alcock as Simone DeWitt, Devon's younger sister, and Michaela's personal assistant, and Julianne Moore as Michaela or Kiki Kell, a billionaire and Simone's boss. There's also some other famous faces like Glenn Howerton from It's Always Sunny and Josh Segarra as Raymond, Devon's on and off boyfriend, also from Abbott Elementary.
And Bill Camp, who plays Simone and Devon's dad, he was in The Night Of. He's been in a lot of other things, but he was in The Night Of, which I talked about in the Deli Boys episode.
Whoa, fun fact. I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
recognize him. Cool. I have a fun fact about Josh Segarra. He is from Longwood, Florida, my hometown.
Whoa,
Yeah.
shout out Longwood,
Shout
Florida.
out. My little hometown in Seminole County, Florida.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
cool.
He went to Lake Brantley High School, which is actually pretty close to my house, but it's just a high school.
Was it a rival high school?
Whoa, I just got a mad sense of deja vu that we were talking about Lake Brantley High School in this podcast. This is crazy.
Don't think so.
No, wow, this is crazy. I think because I was about to say something like I don't think it was a very good high school, and then I had this feeling that I would look up Lake Brantley High School and then see that there was actually like a pretty high pregnancy rate. I am not gonna look that up, but it was public school.
Okay. All right, cool. And Megan Fahey, who plays Devon, is of course Daphne from White Lotus season 2. Millie Alcock is of course young Rhaenyra in Hot D, or House of the Dragon.
I was like, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of like Temptation Island, but it's called Hot D.
Okay, so Shalini, you want to kick us off with your insightful overall thoughts?
Oh, you're hyping me up too much. So overall, I enjoyed the experience of watching this show. I think from the moment it started, I was really intrigued by what was going on. It kind of had like a Stepford Wives kind of vibe to it, and I was trying to figure out what this show is going to be. Like, is it going to be about this witch who can bewitch people into following her or something? Or, it was hard to tell whether it was going to be like supernatural or fantasy or whatever. And so I went through the whole show thinking there was going to be this huge reveal about how Michaela's a witch. And then it was like, oh, it was all in everyone's head. And that's kind of the point. So I ended up I was like, whoa, this is not what I thought it was going to be, but I really liked it. And now I kind of want to watch it again.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel very similarly to you up until that last point. I don't think I want to watch it again, but I agree with you. I was really waiting for something supernatural to happen. There was that whole bathtub scene with Michaela, and I was like, oh shit, like, does she have fins or something? Is it gonna
Right.
be, yeah, like, what's gonna happen? And then I was waiting and waiting and waiting until the very end, and then like nothing happened. And then I was like, okay, I guess this wasn't a supernatural thing. But I agree. I mean, I really liked the vibes. I think it was visually stunning. I also binged it. I was waiting to see what would happen next, what would happen next, what would happen next. But I kind of felt myself being like, oh, that's it in the end. But then I also didn't really know what else to expect or like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I think it was a little bit confusing. I don't think I would watch it again. Maybe if a season two came out, I would watch it in the hopes of something supernatural happening. But yeah, nothing ever did.
I think when the show finished, I felt similarly to you. I was like, oh, that's it? But then as I was thinking about it, as I slept on it, because I truly did fall asleep right after finishing the show last night at 10:30 p.m. and it is now at 7:30 a.m. Now that I'm talking about it, I really think that was the whole point, that you think she has some sort of supernatural power over people, but it's really just that she was his wife. And when you're his wife, you do have that kind of power, but it's nothing to do with you. It's all to do with him. So I think in that way, I really like that it ended up being no superpower. And it was just the allure of being the wife of Peter Kell, you know? And just that as a statement on like women's power in high society is all derived from who they're married to. And just when she holds that position, everybody's so, they showed men flocking to Devon when she had, quote unquote, the power. And they showed everyone bending at the knee for Michaela. But then when she's on the boat leaving the island, she's just a regular woman and she has no power. And it's like, oh, hey was not a cult call. It was just something she said once and people loved it, so they just caught on.
But what about people just running after Devon? Like I thought that felt very supernatural, and I felt like in that moment, I don't think Devon really had any power. Or are you saying that that was the point, that they were just running after her because they didn't, I don't know, they just wanted what they wanted?
I think that was the point. I think the point it was trying to tell is like, oh, when women believe they have the power, they have the power. After the girls dressed up Devon, those three women dressed up Devon, and they were like, men will come flocking to you now. And then it just manifested. And she was like, wait, what the fuck is going on? Yeah. I don't know. I think they were definitely trying to put some sort of supernatural thing, but I think the takeaway from it is that there is no magic about the women in this world. Because like also I'm sure this happens so much, like what happened to Peter, what Peter did, which is oh my gosh, I'm so drawn to this other woman that's not my wife. I'm gonna leave my wife and capture the beauty of this new woman I've discovered because it's so alluring, and kind of putting the onus of what he did onto the woman.
Oh,
No, you did that. Like, not
yeah.
that this woman is like sirening you to her. You just projected that power onto her. And now you're blaming her for like ruining your life, you know?
Yeah, that's so true because I think they had that whole conversation between Peter and Michaela about the kids, right? Where Peter is like, "Oh, you actively dissuaded me from having a relationship with your kids." And she's like, "I didn't do that. You ignored your kids for 13 years and then put the blame on me. I never said anything about that."
Right.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay, yeah, I agree with you. I totally think that is the point and that there is no power.
It is time for an oopsie doopsie, folks. All right, so this oopsie doopsie is two instances of men blaming the women in their lives for their actions that we forgot to cover, but I think is actually very important to mention because it ties into the whole theme of, the idea of sirens being the cause of the problems in men's lives when it's really just the men's actions themselves. So the first one is Ray blaming Devon about cheating on his wife and going to that island when he's in jail, and Devon comes to bail him out, and he's like, "What am I even doing on this island, Devon?" And just kind of blames her for how he got into that situation. But it was all his choice and his actions. And the second example is Ethan blaming Simone for falling off the cliff and saying that she pushed him. And he even went as far as to say that she had wings and he saw her hovering over him. So I think that's another example of, Ethan just not accepting that it was an accident and just trying to, an accident that he caused himself, and just trying to put the blame on this woman.
Yeah, so I know you did some research on the play LMNOP. Was curious to see what the takeaways were from that play or how it was any different from the TV show.
Yes, I did some reading about this play. So, Molly Smith Metzler, who wrote the play, also wrote this show. And then just a little bit about her. She also wrote Maid, that show with Margaret Qualley.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah, so good. And
Wow.
that show is also a Netflix show. It's based on a book, and it's about this young mother who just left an abusive partner situation and is trying to keep her daughter safe, trying to make ends meet, and just the story of her struggle. That show's so beautiful. But unlike Maid, Molly Smith Metzler did write the IP of Sirens, but Maid is based on a book by someone else. So I read this article in Variety about her take on the show versus the play. And one really funny thing was she was like, "Yeah, with Maid, I really wanted to honor the core material and I just wanted to do it justice. But with Sirens, it was my material, so I wasn't very precious about it. I was like, throw it all out."
Oh, wait, okay, what does throw it all out mean? What does she
Or,
do?
okay, the core story is similar. However, this play is 90 minutes long and only has 5 characters in it. And it's in one room.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah,
very different.
very different. So there's Simone, there's Devon, there's Michaela. Can you guess who the other 2 characters are?
Bro, what? Peter?
Nope,
Ray?
nope,
Dad?
nope.
What the fuck? Jose?
Yes, Jose and Ethan, who's Simone's
Oh,
boyfriend.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah, so I
different.
think so the and the original story is that Devin visits Simone at this house on a weekend when Michaela and her husband are supposed to be away on vacation, but I think it's that he decides to leave her, and so she comes home early, and
Oh,
that's
I
why
see.
she enters the house. So I don't know how the plot plays out in that play, but yeah, that's like the core difference. One more oopsie doopsie for this episode. This is also not quite an oopsie doopsie, but just one thing that I realized later that I felt was remiss for not mentioning in the original episode. So at the very end of the play, Simone severs her contract with Michaela and leaves with Ethan to give up her dreams of being a writer. So that's actually how the play ends. She does not take over Michaela's position as Peter Kell's wife or anything, because obviously Peter is not a character in the show. But I thought that the original story in the play, Simone leaving to be with Ethan and basically accepting this new life and giving up her dreams of being a writer, was very reminiscent of White Lotus season 1, in which Alexandria Daddario's character, Rachel, spends the entire season conflicted about wanting to continue being a writer, but then her new husband, played by Jake Lacey, is pressuring her kind of to just quit because he can take care of them. And in the end, at the very end of the season, that's basically what she ends up doing. She just, accepts that this is her life now and stays with him. So I thought that was an interesting parallel to White Lotus, which we've mentioned in this episode quite a few times as well. Also, in that Variety article I was reading, some of the things that she kept, one example is that Jose refers to Michaela as mi amor.
Oh yeah, I didn't really get the mi amor thing. It was just like my queen, like my love.
Yeah, I think it was, she says in that same article, she's like, yeah, it's meant to be a respect thing, but also a tiny bit condescending. And that, ultimately Jose has way more power than Peter's wife, whoever that is at the time. Like, he's been with Peter for a long time. So when he's saying mi amor, it's, yes, I serve you in this moment, but like, we all know who's the top dog around here.
Jose, oh my God. Oh my gosh, when Megan Fahey like licked him and he's like, I have a wife and a kid.
He was like, oh, I'm sorry. It's just a thing I do. I was like, what?
Yeah, like, excuse me? It makes sense though. I mean, like, she literally gave that boat boy a blowjob, so.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about other boat boy, Morgan.
Oh, Captain Morgan.
Captain Morgan, such a cutie pie.
Such a cutie pie.
I had a feeling she wasn't gonna go on the trip with him.
Yeah. I think it's tough to do that when you have an ailing father.
Yeah. The only other thing I'll add is that the reason Peter is not in the play is because he's supposed to play this powerful figurehead that's always talked about but never actually shows up.
That's kind of the vibes that I felt in the first 1 or 2 episodes, right? Because Peter didn't come in until a little bit later in the season, so yeah. Okay, I can definitely see that vibe. How interesting.
Right?
Thank you so much for doing that research. Do you think like the themes were still similar? Like women kind of owning into their power, or their power being blamed by men? Yeah, we forgot to say that Kevin Bacon is also in this.
Oh yeah. Right. I guess this is similar. The themes are class, family dynamics, ambition, regret, the sacrifices people make for privilege, and the choices that shape who we become. So maybe it has the same plot, but without that like siren element to it, because obviously Sirens isn't a symbol in the play like it is in the show. I also read in that same article that when she was turning this play into a series, the symbol of sirens just kind of came to her mid-writing. And so she initially was going to have the girls text each other the sirens emoji as their SOS. But then she was like, oh, sirens. And then, the term sirens as the Greek mythological character kind of came to her, and she was like, ooh, I can build something around this. And then she changed the emoji to the word sirens and just had it be a symbol throughout the show. So I do think that aspect of it was a show thing and not a play thing.
Okay, I would love to talk about this Greek mythology sirens thing because I learned some things when looking this up. So I think we all know sirens, it's basically like a Greek mythology figure. It's a symbol of dangerous temptation embodied by women. And it was first used in the Odyssey, where basically these sirens are female human-like beings with alluring voices, and they call out to these sailors and they try to like bring the sailors down and shipwreck them, which also was a line in the show. I think the dad, what's his name again?
Bill
Bruce?
Camp. Oh, Bruce, yeah.
Yeah, Bruce, the dad says something about, oh, like their mom, like she shipwrecked me or something. I don't know if you caught that.
No,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, he totally did talk about her like a siren too.
Yes, exactly. Oh, actually, I think that's also very interesting going back to your point of LMNOP that Peter Kell in LMNOP was this figure that was talked about but never actually present. Very similar to Andrea, the mom. She's talked
Yeah.
about a lot, but she's never actually shown. So,
Yeah. I mean,
similar
because she
thing.
killed herself.
Well, yeah, but they never even showed like flashbacks of her. Like they
True.
showed the car.
That's true. That is
Yeah.
true.
Anyway, yeah, so going back to sirens, they first appear in Greek mythology, but one thing that I found, which is super interesting, is that they were actually originally shown as half woman, half bird. That's
Yes.
crazy. Yeah. So that I guess
That's
that was, along with the theme of Michaela being obsessed about birds.
totally, totally. And episode two's title was Talons, and it was all about how she was sinking her talons into Simone and all of this bird imagery. Oh,
Yeah.
although, okay, go talking about the birds a little bit, that whole Barnaby plotline had me really confused.
I was also super confused about that. I think maybe it was just a point about like maybe this is why we thought it was going to be supernatural because Barnaby like slammed through the window and
Yeah.
then she was super bloody holding Barnaby and I was like, what does this mean? Like what is this satanic ritual going on? What is this? So I think that's probably why we thought that it was going to be supernatural. But I agree. I feel like that didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah. Maybe Barnaby is the embodiment of men just always being called back to her or something when she's in this power.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I could
I
believe
know.
that. Yeah. But anyway, I did think the bird thing was interesting because I actually didn't clock that sirens were half women, half bird. I thought they were half like mermaids, basically. I thought they were half women,
Mm,
half fish. But yeah, I found out that it was first in Homer's Odyssey, they didn't have any physical descriptions about sirens, and it was actually Apollonius of Rhodes who described the sirens as part woman and part bird, and that was in 3rd century BC. And then by 7th
oh,
century BC, sirens were regularly depicted in art as human-headed birds. But then there's also art in this, I think it's in the 8th century BC, where they are also like half women mermaids type things. So,
oh, interesting. So, yeah, I think in the Odyssey movie, they are depicted as mermaids or something. They're like lounging across a
hmm.
rock and singing their song and bringing the men into the island. Or maybe I'm thinking of what's that movie with George Clooney? Oh, brother, where art thou? Have you heard of that movie?
I've heard of it, but I have not seen it. I did not know
Okay,
George
it's like,
Clooney was in that.
yes, it's a George Clooney movie from 2000 that's a quote unquote modern retelling of the Odyssey. It's set in, I don't know what time period it's set in, but it's kind of told as this like old Western where he and two friends break out from prison and are trying to get home to his wife. But in that they face the same similar obstacles to Odysseus in the Odyssey, and one of
Like
them
a
is like this.
Cyclops.
Yeah, I think there is a one-eyed man somewhere that like
Oh,
tries to beat them up or something, and then they definitely do stumble upon this area. I think I'm thinking of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, not the Odyssey, where they stumble upon this area that's like waterfalls and these women just lounging across rocks and singing. Um, yeah. So
Wow.
I think that's what I also thought sirens were until
Like
I
the
was doing research for this episode.
mermaid stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never clocked sirens that would be like half birds. I think probably because, well, man, now I'm confused about which came first, sirens or mermaids.
Hmm.
Probably sirens at this point, right?
What came first, sirens or mermaids? In terms of mythology, sirens came first. The
Yeah.
earliest depictions were half bird, half woman. Over time, during the medieval period, images of sirens began to shift, some showing them with fishtails, becoming more similar to the modern concept of mermaids.
Yeah. I think, yeah, that's what I read on Wikipedia. Lol. Did not. Sorry, y'all. We're not getting a PhD in like this stuff every time we do a podcast episode. So there's gonna be stuff that we get wrong, and that's why we have our oopsie doopsie segments. It's all about learning. We got growth mindset.
Yeah, and you know what? Oopsie doopsies are my favorite segment, so I really hope we got stuff wrong so we can then correct ourselves.
Just wrong enough to induce engagement.
What's a nonce? Am I right?
Oh God. Oh yeah, okay. So one thing that confused me, I thought there was going to be a whole storyline about Michaela actually being their mom.
Mm.
So when Bruce and Michaela first meet, Bruce is like, "Oh, I've met you before. I know you. I've seen you." And then when they part ways after they first met, Michaela says, "Oh, goodbye, Bruce." And I didn't remember if they had actually introduced him as Bruce earlier in that meeting or if it was just, "Oh, she actually knew him." And then when they were dancing together, she was basically saying, like, basically pretending to be who he thought she was, which is Andrea, the mom. And I think by the end of that conversation, I was like, oh, maybe they don't know each other and they're just trying to connect with each other.
Mm.
Or she's just trying to connect with him during his state of confusion. But I mean, I think the gap between those two scenes was like 2 episodes or something. So for those 2 episodes, I was really confused as to like what if Michaela is actually Simone's mom, and maybe that's why Andrea tried to kill Simone.
Mm. I did not think that. Um, but now that you're telling me this theory, I think it would have been a really interesting reveal because you know how they introduced the fact that Peter's first wife's face was like dysmorphed by plastic surgery or whatever?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, oh, well, Devon would definitely know what her mom looks like because she was old enough. And even Simone was 7, so she would probably recognize her mom. But they already introduced plastic surgery completely transforming people's faces and like Simone fucking with her nose. And so, what if it was just revealed that Michaela completely changed her face, changed her name, and became this billionaire's wife?
Yeah, who knows? Crazy.
That would have been
Yeah, but
fun.
I think that's why I felt kind of led astray, which is why by the end I was like, that's it.
Uh, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to talk about, you know, when they locked in on someone's face and had them really, really zoomed in, everything behind them is blurred. It's kind of this
Mm,
pastel, like
ethereal.
dreamy, ethereal quality to it. So I really liked that anytime Michaela had a conversation with Simone, they would lock in like that. And then sometimes when Michaela had a conversation with Devon, it would lock in like that. And then at the very end, it was when Simone had a conversation with Peter that they locked in like that. And I didn't realize until this morning that was the show hinting that Simone was about to take Michaela's place as the siren and just like locking people into herself.
Yeah, true. I've got to say, I was a little surprised by Simone's willingness to be Peter Kell's wife because she broke up with Ethan when Ethan was proposing to her. She was like, "You don't even know me. You don't actually know me. You only started to like me you only started to like me more when you realized that I was broken, basically,
Yeah.
and I had a really fucked up childhood. That was when you started to love me more because then you thought that you could be this like white knight savior type thing. Isn't that what Peter is doing too? Like, why is she okay with Peter doing it and not Ethan?
I think there's a reason she directly ran to Peter after her dad basically said, "It's you and me now." That's when she finally faced reality of like, wow, if I don't have this job or if I don't have this family, I'm left with nothing. And so she was like, even though I would like to not marry just some random rich guy, but if the alternative is going home to my dad, oh my God, I would totally sacrifice everything to keep this life that I've curated for myself. So I think that's why they showed her just literally sprinting away from her old life back to the life that she already said no to
Mm.
Ethan.
Yeah, it's not a cult, right? Like that's kind of what we figured out in the end. It was just like it's weird high society, which you could argue in some ways is culty, but
Yeah.
not a cult.
Yeah, I
Mm.
think it wasn't a cult. I think it was just how people act in high society. I was also reading that Molly Smith Metzler introduced that hey hey thing because when she was I think she was talking about Nantucket or something. When she was in Nantucket, she noticed that people were just like picking up colloquialisms from each other. And when someone
Mm.
said something interesting, other people would just start saying that too. And that's also what happened with fashion and stuff. And so she just wanted to introduce that concept of having one person say something, everyone catches on, and it does end up sounding a little culty, and everyone's dressed in a similar way. And acting a certain way, and yeah, it totally presents like a cult.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. What did you think about Chloe, Astrid, and who's the third lady?
Oh, I don't even remember those three
Those three
ladies.
women, yeah. They were also
Yeah.
really interesting. That's also what made me think that they were very supernatural, is because they all talked simultaneously. They all were like, well, I was a nail tech in Florida and look at me now. And so that also made me think that something else was going on. But that
Yeah.
also wasn't really explained.
I
And
know.
they also were high society ladies that weren't a Mrs. something. Like we never met their husbands, and they weren't
I think
introduced as Mrs. So and so, right?
that's true. They only said their first names, but I thought it was implied that they were also high society wives.
Yeah,
But
I think they are, but they also like never talked about their husbands. So maybe that
yeah,
was the whole point, was Michaela was feeling this way about like all I am, I'm just a Mrs., but I want to actually stand for something. What does that mean? Let me create this like gardening club that turned into this fundraising juggernaut so that we can separate ourselves from this identity of just being a Mrs. So and so.
I actually love that theory. I hope that's true. That she was kind of like kind of like a Robin Hood-esque. She was like, no, I think that's the wrong analogy. But I guess what I'm trying to say is once she was in this position, she was like, let me bring other women up to this position and like give them real power. Um, yeah, I like that. I hope that's
Yeah.
true. Because I mean, she's a very smart lady. Like, she's very well educated. She was a really good lawyer. Um, Not an M&A lawyer, though. Wait, was she an M&A lawyer?
I think she might have been an M&A lawyer. No, I think she legitimately was an M&A
I
lawyer
think
because
so.
that's what Peter said, right? Peter was like, "Oh, she was an attorney working on a merger."
Yes.
Well,
Full circle.
wow, that's funny.
Oh,
I wonder if she was on Devil's Plan. What
oh.
was I gonna say? Yeah, but I think that might be right though, because like all of the three women, they did say that they came from these like lower
Grounds.
society, yeah, like blue collar type jobs. And that's why when Megan Fahey was like, "What am I doing in this dress?" They were like, "Oh, you have to own your power." Like, I was a nail tech in Florida. That's the only job I remember. I'm sorry. She was like, "I was a nail tech in Florida," and so like, and here I am now. So like, you too can own your power and be a part of this high society, but you have to believe in it or something, Tinkerbell style.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I really like that.
I
That
hope
makes me
that's
like
true.
her character a lot more. I mean,
Yeah.
by the end, I was like, oh wow, she wasn't the villain after all. But
Yeah,
yeah,
for
this is why
sure.
I really want to watch it again so I can be like, okay, this wasn't magic. This was just her like trying to be a good person.
Yeah. And even at the end when she was like, "Oh, I'm so hurt by you because like me and Jocelyn, we weren't friends, but you and I were friends. And like how could you do this to me?" Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, at that point, Simone hadn't really done anything to her.
that's true.
Yeah.
But
But still,
she did.
she did in the end. Yeah.
Well,
A woman's instinct is always right.
true. Ugh. What do you think the future holds for Peter and Simone?
Honestly, I want to say that it'll all turn out exactly like Peter and Michaela turned out. She will feel like she's doing a lot of good in the world by running this foundation, etc. Maybe she'll start some new things, and then at some point she'll become old news to him. He'll she'll hire an assistant or she'll hire a maid or a cook or a chef or something that he ends up having like a special bond with, and then they'll turn into the new missus.
Yeah, but at that point he'd be like 70 years old. Old as
I know.
fuck.
I know. I know. I was trying to think, are they trying to show that he's way older than Julianne Moore? Because they must be pretty similar ages, right?
I think he was probably a little older than
Okay.
her.
I'm gonna
I
look
don't
up
know
their
if,
real ages.
yeah, I don't know if they talked about an age gap or anything, but I would not be surprised if they had some kind of like 10-year age gap.
Okay. They actually only have a 2-year age gap. Kevin
Oh.
Bacon is 66, Julianne Moore is 64.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So he just
Um,
looks super old then.
and Julianne Moore is a beautiful goddess. A siren, if you will.
Seriously. Dang. Always wear sunscreen.
Aging starts at 25. Simone, you got 1 year.
Isn't she already 25?
Oh, I thought she was. I think they said she's 24 or something. Or she was like, oh, at one point she said high school was
7 years
7 years
ago.
ago. So then I added 7 to 17. But I guess we graduated quite young
Yeah,
from
I,
high
I added
school.
7 to 18. I was like, oh, she's probably 25.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. Because we
Yeah,
I we technically graduated at 17, but also I think we were young for our year.
yeah.
Just little prodigies, just little baby prodigies graduating high school at 17.
I'm a genius.
Secret lifestyle. Oh,
What
speaking of
else?
cults, I did actually look up Nexium. Okay, Lily Rose, what an amazing character. Love
She
her.
was so funny.
Yeah, she was great. So she was like, "Oh yeah, like I was in Nexium." So I looked up Nexium and it's apparently it was some kind of like MLM type thing that was founded on personal growth
Hmm.
and like owning your career and owning your life. But what was really interesting is that a lot of these like super rich and famous people were in it. Um,
Really?
yeah, so let me see. Reported participants include former Surgeon General Antonia Novello, Enron executive Stephen Cooper, Anna Christina Fox, the daughter of the former Mexican president Vicente Fox, Richard Branson, actresses Linda Evans, Grace Park, and Nikki Klein. Um,
Whoa. Grace Park. How'd you get in there?
Grace Park. Um, Wait, actually, now I'm looking at these three actresses, Linda Evans, Grace Park, and Nikki Klein. And they seem very similar to those three women, Astrid, Gloria, whoever it was.
No way.
One. Yeah. So I wonder if she was talking about Nexium and she's like, let's just make these three people like cult members or something.
Whoa. I love that. I love that. Oh,
That's my theory and I'm sticking to it. Now
a
that
great
one of my
theory.
theories was proven correctly, I'm just like, theory, theory, theory.
Throw him out. Oh, I would love that. Oh my gosh, I hope that's true.
Ooh, I hope it's true too.
Ooh.
Oh, speaking of age differences, so at first I didn't think about how much older Glenn Howerton, who plays Ethan, was than Millie Alcock, who plays Simone. But then I looked it up and they have a 24-year age difference.
Wait, how old is Glenn Howerton compared
He's
to Kevin Bacon?
49.
49.
Yeah, he looks
Dang.
great for 49.
He does. I also noticed that he plays kind of the same character. You know what I mean?
Dennis.
Dennis, yeah. He's
But
very much
here
a
he was
Dennis.
rich Dennis.
Yeah, here he was rich Dennis, but he was still like the same type of humor, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, I was also really impressed by Megan Fahey because when she was Daphne in The White Lotus, she was definitely like rich bitch, right? But in this show, I thought she did a great job of being blue collar Megan Fahey.
Yes, yes. They tried really hard to make her look
Grungy.
frumpy. Yeah,
Yeah.
they tried really hard. I don't know if the look, I mean, she's just so beautiful. Like, it was very hard to make her look frumpy. But yeah, I thought her acting was amazing. And I really felt like she was from Buffalo.
Yeah, I felt that way too. I
Yeah.
wonder where is she actually from?
Mm.
Megan Fahey. She's from Longmeadow, Massachusetts.
Hmm. Sounds pretty high society.
Does it? I don't know,
Just kidding. I
actually.
don't know.
I was like, I wonder if Longmeadow, Massachusetts is like the Buffalo of Massachusetts. Oh, huh. I don't know. I can't tell like what the culture of this city is. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Oh, Johnny Appleseed is from Longmeadow, Massachusetts.
Oh, good. Oh, it's
Um,
rich. It's pretty
yeah,
rich.
okay, I
Yeah.
just found
Okay.
the average income. Yep.
Yeah, I also read the average income. I was like, oh, okay. She rich as fuck.
Oh, but yeah, I did think the juxtaposition of Devon and Daphne is very interesting because she played both so well. And Daphne, which is how I was introduced to Megan Fahey, is like, she's so stylish and so
Put
actually
together
very, yeah, so put together. I think she would fit in really well at these high society parties.
for sure.
Um, I'm sure she had some sort of Lily Pulitzer outfit in the White Lotus. So when she had to fit in after she agrees to like try to fit in Michaela's world, I was like, it's my Daphne. That's my Daphne.
Yeah, exactly. When she wore her Easter egg dress, I was like, Daphne would never, first of all.
Daphne would have something way more stylish.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I was really impressed with her because, yeah, similar to you, I also, my introduction to Megan Fahey was Daphne in White Lotus. And I also thought she was super incredibly gorgeous in White Lotus. And they really, I thought it worked though with what they did in this show in
Yeah.
Sirens. Yeah.
Then we, of course, have Millie Alcock, who is Australian, but her American accent in the show was so convincing.
Oh, I didn't know she was Australian. Wow.
Yeah, she's Australian, plays a British character in House of the Dragon. Also, never knew she was Australian except in the post episode about the episode interviews. And then in this show, I kept forgetting that she's Australian because her American accent, I don't think there was one time where I was like, oh, that's, yeah, there's the accent. I hear it.
Yeah, wow. I didn't
Yeah.
know that either. Well, I also had never seen Millie Alcock in anything because I
Oh,
didn't watch
yeah.
House of the Dragon. So this was my first introduction to her. But yeah, I thought she was American. Wow.
Yeah, so impressive. And I saw an interview with her where she was saying that as the episodes go on, so she starts with this like really, not Valley Girl because that's West Coast, but this very put on curated way of talking. And then as the episodes go on, it kind of falls back into the Buffalo way of talking. And so she not
Yeah.
only did she do a convincing American accent, she played on that as the season went on.
So smart. And then Glenn Howerton's just playing Dennis. Every show is like some form of Dennis.
Yeah.
Oh man. Wow.
Oh.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Overall, good show. Should we do ratings?
I would rate this show probably an 8 out of 10. Yeah, I thought all of the acting was brilliant. The storyline was interesting. The takeaway was so good, I thought. And I love shows set in high society. It just fulfills something in my heart just watching rich people have problems. I saw on Instagram that was like, Sirens will fill the hole in your heart left by White Lotus or something like that. And it's so true. The music, oh yeah, I didn't talk about this at all, but I thought the music was very similar to White Lotus music also. Like just the vocal, like, yeah, like it's some voice going like, oh, the whole show is so similar. And it kind of leaves you with this sense of dread of something bad is gonna happen, but you don't know what it is. So yeah, I thought it kind of fulfilled that same thing that White Lotus does. Yeah, I loved being in the world, loved the actors.
Yeah, I think I feel similarly. I think I'll also give it an 8. But I think I mean, we talked about the whole supernatural confusion. I think that part I was a little confused about. And like that may have been the point, but also I didn't get it. So I'm docking points for that.
That's fair. I do think they could have made it clearer that like all the magic is gone now that she's out of the picture. It's like, oh, this magic was all fake, but now that she's not Peter Kell's wife anymore, there's no more magic.
There's no magic. But then Simone has the magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Michaela's storyline I thought was pretty clear that like there was no magic this whole time. And then when we see her on the boat, we're like, oh, she's like a real person. She's just a person. Yeah. Versus like Simone becomes this ethereal figure. So yeah, I thought it was good. I really did like the cinematography, the way that stuff came together. But then there were just some parts here and there that I was like, but why? So the Barnaby thing, that was a little bit, but why?
Yeah. At one point, I thought that Julianne Moore was turning men into birds and just keeping them captive.
Yeah, that could be
I was
it.
like, who is Barnaby? Is the next bird gonna be Ethan?
Yeah, true. Okay, also, I was just waiting for someone to die. You know what I
I
mean?
know, I was too. At the end of the show, you're like, wait, no one died.
No one died. Ray was found. Ethan was fine. Peter was fine.
Peter's
Jocelyn was
first wife
fine.
was fine. Yeah.
But maybe that's the point. It's like, yeah,
It's
everything.
not that dramatic.
Yeah. Like, take a step back. It's chill.
Yeah.
It's chill.
Well.
Good morning.
It is now 8 a.m.
Now we can bark.
All right, should I stop?
Oh, wait. Binge in progress.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let me see. I feel like I haven't. Well, okay, I finished Devil's Plan. I finished Love, Death, and Robots. Finished Sirens. I started the first episode of Étoile.
Oh.
But only like the first 4 seconds, to be honest.
You clicked play and then clicked stop.
I clicked play and then I got to the dance scene and then I clicked pause.
The little girls dance scene?
No, like the scene after that. The club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think the only thing I've watched besides Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and Sirens in the last several days is I watched the Survivor finale with my sister. And I hadn't seen most of the season, but I actually started crying during the finale.
Oh, why?
Because there's this, I don't know if she's Indian, but she's some sort of South Asian girl. Her name is Camilla. And so it was her versus this other girl, Eva. at the fire, they both had to make a fire. I don't know. It's always in the finale of Survivor, but I don't know if there's a name for that segment. And they were competing against each other. And Eva, I believe, is on the spectrum, and she was getting really worked up about creating this fire, and her fire was slowly going down, even though she'd started a flame, and she was getting really panicked. And Camilla hadn't even started her fire yet, but was reassuring Eva and was like, "Don't worry, you're doing way better than I am," as she was trying to make her fire, which I thought was so sweet. And then Eva ends up winning, so Camilla's eliminated. And then Jeff, the host, is talking to Camilla about, he was like, you always talk about how you're so negative on yourself, but like you're, you know, you have so much positivity flowing out of you. Like you said that to Eva. And then Camilla breaks down in tears and she's like, I am really negative on myself and I never think I'm good enough, but this being on Survivor has showed me my own strength and my own power. And I was like, oh my God, Camilla, such a sweet soul.
Yeah, I love that.
And she has this like really sweet voice, and it was just, I was so touched.
That reminds me of this Devil's Plan contestant who I also started tearing up at. So when her name is Harin, and when she got eliminated, I was actually very happy because I did not like her as a contestant. But then in her like going out interview, her elimination interview, she was like, I'm really proud of myself because my whole life, it's always been just about like what I need to do. So I was only allowed 2 hours of TV a week. And whenever I did watch TV, it would be these types of game shows where you had to really use your brain and think and everything. And so I was always doing homework, always studying, always thinking and trying to be productive. And Devil's Plan was the first time that I really prioritized what I wanted to do over what I should do. And I was like, oh my God, why did I root against you? Yeah.
Oh no.
I was like, I felt so bad. I was like, dude, I rooted for you to fail, and now I feel really bad.
Oh no.
But yeah, I also started tearing up during that moment. There's something about these reality shows. I think they do make you feel they make you be in touch with like who you truly are. They make you really understand that.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you were ever on a reality show, which one would it be?
Oh, easy. The Amazing Race with Jing Chen.
Oh my God, me too. I would be Amazing Race with Izzy.
Oh.
Let's compete.
Yeah, Jing and I have actually talked about signing up and seeing what happens, but we need to figure out what our shtick is, you know?
Do you need a shtick?
I think so. I don't know. It seems like Jing's done a lot of research into how to get cast. She's like, we gotta figure out what our shtick is.
Yeah, I do feel like I think the season of Amazing Race that I saw, I think it was season 34. It was based in Munich, for the most part, or not for the most part, but like a lot of it was in Munich, which was
Oh,
weird.
really? Interesting.
Yeah, or like in Germany in general. I think because it was like soon after the pandemic, so they didn't want to like travel around the world that
Makes
much.
sense.
But then I was watching that and I was like, well, all of these contestants have some kind of claim to fame for the most part. So that's why I was like, what, do they even cast normal people anymore?
I think there are normal people on this season. I don't think any of them have a crazy claim to fame. One is a brother-sister duo. Are you watching this
No,
season?
no.
Oh, okay. One is a brother-sister duo from, I think, somewhere in South Bay.
Oh,
Yeah, and they're just this like Asian sibling pair.
well, what's their shtick?
Well, maybe that they're siblings? I don't know.
Yeah, because
They kind of look like twins. I don't know.
yeah, okay, I was gonna say the only like normal people pairing that I saw were these two twins, but they were two twins who had found each other. Like they were adopted separately by two different families, and they had found each other way later in life, and they decided to do Amazing Race together to like deepen their bond. Yeah, and they were identical twins, and I was
That's
like,
crazy.
if that's the shtick that you need as a normal person, like
That's what it takes, finding a long lost identical twin sibling.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're fucked.
We're fucked. Cool.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for yapping with us.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for yapping with us. If you loved this episode, have some hot takes we missed, or if you've got a show you're dying for us to binge next, follow us on socials. We're at Binge Yap Repeat.
Until next time, happy binging!